What's going on, guys? Hope you're doing well. Today I wanted to actually show some footage of actually towing, especially for you newer towers out there, what it's like towing in heavy traffic on the highway with a 32-foot trailer behind you. We're coming through Raleigh right now. So for those of you who are familiar with the North Carolina area or the East Coast, coming through Raleigh-Durham area by the airport, and we're actually coming back from Wilmington, and there's a lot of construction, 4-lane highway, sometimes 5. Traffic is all over the place, and I want people to understand what are some things you need to do to drive effectively and safely. So the first thing is you want to be at least, and my recommendation, everybody's different. There's times when I'm in the left lane to pass, very seldom on this road, right? For me personally, what I like to do is I like to make sure I stay in the right lane, the furthest right lane, or the second to furthest right lane, or the second furthest lane to the right. And the reason I'm not always in the right lane is because in a busy highway, first of all, you have to understand how long you are. Between the long truck and the long trailer, you have to realize that the right lane a lot of times is an exiting lane and oncoming traffic. So you have a lot of different exits. So sometimes it's actually easier to stay in the second to right lane. That way you're not blocking off a large entry point to the highway for other cars to get on to the highway for you. Again, it's about safety. What a lot of people don't understand is it's not always just about controlling the vehicle. In many cases, it's also just as important to put yourself in the proper positions ahead of time before situations come up. So typically, if I'm just riding through a rural part of the interstate, I'll ride in the right lane because there's not a lot of exits coming on and coming off. I can kind of relax a little bit more. But when I'm going through a city or a busier area that you know there's going to be heavy traffic, you know there's going to be a lot of people coming on and off different exits, go ahead and be proactive, drive in the second to right lane. That way, if something goes wrong, you can still get over. However, you're not putting yourself in a position where you have to jump over and jump back over when you're passing on and off ramps. So what are the first things you want to do? Obviously, you want to remember it takes you longer to stop the vehicle. You have a trailer behind you. Even if you have a 3/4 ton truck or a 1-ton truck, you have more weight than what the truck is designed for in its natural state. So what do I mean by that? I have a heavy duty truck, so it's made to do work. It's made to carry loads and to stop more loads. But without a load, your truck is going to stop faster. Just because of the law of physics, the natural weight aspect of things, right? It's a common sense thing, nothing over the top. But because of that, you always want to make sure that you're giving yourself more, whatever car length advantage that you typically give you when you're driving normally with nothing in tow. I would say triple that, because that extra weight when you need to stop in a pinch, I don't care if you do have heavy duty brakes, it's going to take you longer than if you didn't have it. I can't tell you how many times you'll see RVs and travel trailers, right up on people's butts as if they're driving sports cars or motorcycles and they're weaving in and out. It's just completely unsafe. And so right now, as you see, I'm in the second to right lane. The furthest right lane is exiting off. But let's say if I was to get in the right lane right now, you see on this white truck coming on right here, or this red truck that's coming up, I would have to get right back over. So that's why I say, it's better it really is better position where you can really control and dictate some of the situations that you'll find yourself in. That way, when you find yourself in an unpredictable situation, you're ready, you're comfortable, you're calm, you have an exit strategy. So another thing to think about is calculating what's around you. Are there, a lot of cars that are moving fast? Are there a lot of 18-wheelers? Are there city buses? As you see right here, we're traveling on the highway with a city transportation bus. How is that going to impact my decision making while I'm driving? These are some things that you have to think about as tower. Also, right now, thankfully, it's not a heavy wind. So if you look back at the trailer, I have the Blue Ox Sway Pro hitch, the same hitch I had for my 1500s, the same hitch I have now. Love it. Love it. Does it completely eliminate sway? No. From what I understand, there's only 1 or 2 hitches out there that are pretty high end that will do that. No knock to them, but for me, it's if you drive with common sense, if you know at what point you need to hit brakes and to use your trailer brake and everything, and your truck is equipped properly for that, I don't think you really need all the extra stuff. But it is a luxury to have. So I'm not knocking you if you have it. I'm not knocking you if you're thinking about getting it. Personal preference here, the Blue Ox is perfect for me, okay? Right now I'm driving in the middle lane. There's an 18-wheeler to my right that I'm passing, right? And I'm going 69, speed limit to 65 right now. That's another thing we'll talk about in a second. I'm staying out of the left lane because that's the hammer lane when people are really trying to get to where they're going. I respect it. Let me stay out of the way because it just causes road rage. You hold up traffic, which actually increases the likelihood that there will be an accident. All right, so let's talk speed limit, right? Let's talk speed limit. I will very rarely, a lot of people say you should never go over 65 miles an hour. Like right now, the speed limit is 65. I'm going 70. Typically, I would like to try to stay around 65. It is a good towing speed. It's good for fuel efficiency. It's good for control. It's good for timing. But there's times when you can actually be a liability by driving exactly on the speed limit when you're coming through a heavy traffic area, especially when you're around metropolitan areas or larger cities. The reason why is everyone else there's a flow of traffic, right? Basic driving 101, there's a flow of traffic, and there's times you would like to, it's more conducive for you to stay with the flow of traffic within reason to make sure the flow goes well and everybody's safe. When you have, so for example, if you have a 3-lane highway like I'm on right now, and everybody's flowing at one rate of speed, right, or a similar rate of speed, and then you have this big, large object that's clogging up the process, and you have people starting to swerve and cut people off during rush hour. Right now it's 4:05. People are getting off work and they're getting ready to head home to get ready to get into the weekend. You don't want to be that barrier, that object that's obstructing traffic. It's just not safe. Now, I'm not saying go off and drive 80. Some people do it. That's your choice. Again, my rule of thumb is make sure whatever you do, you can do it safely, and it's safe for the folks around you who don't have a say-so in the process. They have to react to your driving. Remember that as well. If you're in a high-paced traffic area, what you can do is get in that right lane, and that way if you do drive a little slower, which you should towing a travel trailer, you're not obstructing the traffic flow, right? So stay in the right lane when you can. But then let's get back to what I said at the very beginning of the video. We're in a high traffic area, and staying in the right lane may not be the safest route to go, especially when you have several on and off ramps. So now we're exiting the thick part of Raleigh, and it's starting to mellow out a little bit. So now I'm getting in the right lane, and that's where I'm going to cruise at. So right here, trucks are moving on, and cars are coming on. Don't be that guy that stays in the right lane and makes it difficult for everybody. Move over, just like I'm doing here. Move over, let people get up to speed. They can get around you, they can stay in the right lane, what have you. Once the coast is clear, then you go ahead and get back over. That's just the courtesy thing to do. It's the smart thing to do, and it's the path of least resistance. So the temperature today is literally 100 degrees right now. 100 degrees Fahrenheit. It's hot. The ground is hot. I have a TPMS system. I highly encourage you all to get one if you don't already have one. It's so helpful to be able to just look at your phone app and say, hey, what are my tire temperatures? What are my tire pressures? What are those numbers? And if you see one drastically jump, fluctuate or whatever, or change, then you need to pull over. You can do it proactively so you don't have a blowout. You don't mess up the bottom of your rig. You don't have pieces of rubber flying off and causing potential accidents for other cars. These are all things that you want to think and take into account. And with it being 100 degrees and a full vehicle, a big rig, moving at the rate of speed that we are on the highway, I have to know that the likelihood of my tires being at an elevated pressure, temperature, is going to be there. Don't just know the condition of your tires while it's parked. Know the condition of your tires while it's in tow. As you're going through construction zones, making sure that you take time to check what your tire pressure is. If you don't have a TPMS system, make it a point to pull over from time to time. Yes, it's going to be tedious. Yes, it's going to be annoying, especially if you're going on a really, really long distance trip. But it's so worth it to stop and just inspect your tires. This is especially true if you have a single wheel axle on your truck, or your trailer. So a lot of times your smaller trailers will only have one axle, which means if one goes flat, you have nothing on that side of the trailer to sustain and support the weight long enough for you to get off. So you really need to make sure you're paying attention to the health of your tires while you are in tow. My trailer has 2 axles. You know, the larger you go, you get more axles typically. But one thing that's peace of mind for me, if one was to go down, I would at least have enough time to pull over, theoretically, and do what it is that I need to do. Please don't get out on the road and think you're God and you're invincible, right? Yes, it will handle, like I've said in other videos, it will handle better than a half-ton truck. By the way, you can do this successfully and safely with a half-ton truck. You just have to change up some of your methods and understand that you have more limitations and liabilities that are holding you back with a half-ton truck. Guys, listen, just because you have a bigger, heavier truck that's more capable does not mean you have the right or you need to abandon smart decision making. This isn't a huge trailer. This is a mid-size. It's not a huge fifth wheel. It's not a tiny one either, but it's large enough to impact. It's large enough to where I can tell a difference with a 3/4 ton truck when it's on there, right? So that's something just to think about and to really make sure you're being safe. You know, if you have some other ideas that I'm leaving off, please put them in the comments. This is about making people better. This is about making the road safer. I have my family in tow with me. We plan on going back out. Traffic all over us. Everybody on this road right here, every single person on this road right here is counting on me to make sure I'm doing what I need to do responsibly while I'm towing this rig. Just like I'm counting on what they need to do responsibly to make sure my family's safe, to make sure we all can get home safely. That's the goal, right?